Good day everyone, today I will discuss to you about group homomorphism. So, homomorphism or homomorpho came from the Greek word homo means like, morphe means form. If we drop the basic idea of one-to-one onto from the isomorphistic mapping, phi g of g, absolute value of A is 1-to-1 onto P, A, and B equals P of B, then the remaining mapping called homomorphism. So, ang salitang homomorphism came from the Greek word na homo means form o pareho, like or pareho, at morphe or form. So, madaling salita, ito ay same form mapping. Ang isomorphistic ay isang perfect mapping daw dahil kailangang 1-to-1 onto 8. Ang homomorphism ay may general, kailangan nilang dito mapanatili ang role na operation like multiplication, addition, kahit hindi ito 1-to-1. So, yun yung pagkakaiba ng isomorphism sa homomorphism. Ang homomorphism P from a group G to another group of G is a mapping from G to G that preserve the group operation that is P E of B equals P of B in another group of B, or A and B are all elements of G. So, para malaman kung ang isang mapping na P G of G ay isang homomorphism, kailangan lang mapatunayan na ang operation ay mapapanatili or mapipreserve dahil ang G ay non-zero reals under multiplication. Ang rule na dapat masunod ay ang P, X, and Y equals P of X and P of Y. In short, pag sinabi nating homomorphism is dapat kung pagsasamahin mo ang dalawang elements sa unang group, which is ang A and B, bago sila i-map, dapat ang resulta ay pareho lang kung imamap mo muna sila ng hiwalay bago pagsamahin gamit ang operation na pangalawang group, or P of A or operation in another group of P. So, pag sinabi nating homomorphism, ito yung dalawang function na dapat mapreserve ng isang function yung isang elements. Halimbawa, yung elements of A natin, dapat mapreserve niyang yung element of B natin para maging homomorphism ang ating elements. It is noted to be that the binary operation on the left-hand side is that G, whereas on the right-hand side is that of G, element of G. So, dito sa diagram, makikita natin na mas madali or ma-identify natin ng mas madali kung paano nagiging homomorphism ang dalawang elements. So, noted that the binary operation on the left-hand side is the G, whereas on the right-hand side is that elements of G. So, diba sa taas meron tayong A and B. So, pagdating natin sa baba, dapat magiging A times B yung elements natin. Then, dapat magmamapping siya into elements of A and B para maging homomorphism. Kailangan magmap siya into elements of A mapping sa elements of B. Let G and H be a group with operation, and respectively, a homomorphism of G into H is a mapping P of G into H such that for every E and B and G. Yun na nga yung sinasabi ko kanina, na pag sinabi nating mapping, it is the elements that mapping into other elements. Kailangan yung E and B natin is all elements in G. Magmamap siya and all elements or connected each other. So that's all for explanation on how to get or paano naging homomorphism ang isang elements. Para mas madali ninyo maintindihan, always noted that ang homomorphism is dalawang elements na nag-perceive sa each other. Kailangan yung elements of A natin na perceive niya yung elements of B natin para maging function or maging homomorphism or equal yung ating elements, equal each other. And to determine whether this mapping is homomorphism, I have here in 5 examples related to P of G and G under multiplication in non-real number, and this operation is perceived as two functions can be connected in each other and or homomorphism by each other. So, the first one is P of x. So, dito is identify natin kung ang absolute value ng x ay katumbas ng product ng absolute value. So, P of x and y equals absolute value of x and y. So, sa algebra, ay alam natin na ang absolute value ng x and y ay laging equal to absolute x times y. So, magiging homomorphism itong first example natin kasi nga, kung kukunin natin yung absolute value ng x and y, is magiging mapping pa rin siya sa p of x natin kasi wala namang ibang variables or any numbers na makakapag-argue na ang ating absolute value ng x ay hindi magiging mapping sa p of x. So, this example is homomorphism. Kasi nga, absolute value of x and absolute value of y is homomorphism by p of x times p of y. And now, let's proceed to the second example. P of x equals 1 over x. So, i-identify natin ngayon kung ang 1 over x ay the same sa product ng reciprocal. So, P of x and y equals 1 over x and y. So, assuming na yung value ng g natin is 1 over x and y. So, dapat yung value natin ng g is magmamap siya into the value p or sa x and y. So, dito is maaari nating isulat or i-arrange yung ating mga variables like 1 over x times 1 over y. Gagawin natin dito is distribution. I-distribute natin yung mga given value, like for example, i-distribute natin yung given value ng 1 sa mga variables natin. So, magiging 1 over x times 1 over y. So, dito is magiging homomorphism yung mapping natin kasi nga ang 1 over x times 1 over y ay magiging equal sa x and y. Kasi nga hindi na natin pwedeng ilagay yung variable, yung given yung numbers na 1 kasi every variables meron tayong divisible, invisible na 1. Yung like for example, yung y kasi nga 1 times 1 equals 1. So, hindi natin pwedeng ilagay yung 1 sa every variables kasi given na yun na may 1. So, magiging result na lang dito yung x and y. So, mapping siya sa p of x and p of y. Kaya, naging homomorphism yung elements natin. And now, let's proceed to the example number 3. So, p of x equals negative x. So, dito, dun pa lang sa given value, magkakaroon na tayo ng instinct na pwedeng hindi maging homomorphism yung value natin kasi nga negative. Negative x, which is yung value naman natin ng p is always siyang positive like x and y. Hindi siya negative. So, yung value naman natin ng g is negative x. So, dito, identify natin na kung homomorphism ba yung negative x sa p of x. Dito, kapag minultiply mo ang dalawang numero at ginawa silang negative, pareho ba ito sa pag-multiply ng dalawang negative number? So, hindi, 'di ba? Like, for example, negative 1 times negative 1, magiging positive yon. Dito, sa issue natin ngayon, kasi nga, yung value ng g lang natin yung negative, which is yung value natin ng p is positive, magiging not homomorphism siya kasi nga yung p of x and y natin, diba, equals negative x and y. So, doon hindi natin makikita na hindi sila equal kasi nga negative yung value ng g, which is yung value naman natin ng p is positive. Kasi kapag gawin mo na ng process, x times x, so magiging negative x times negative negative y. So, magiging negative yung mga given value ng g natin. Which is yung atin namang given value ng p is positive x and y. So, hindi sila negative. Kasi, p of x equals negative x times negative y. Hindi sila mapping sa isa't isa. So, let's proceed naman sa example number 4. So, now let's proceed to the example number 4. Which is p of x equals x squared under multiplication by itself. So, dito, i-multiply lang natin yung mga given value natin ng g by itself. So, magiging p of x and y, magiging x squared, y squared equals x squared times, so hindi na natin isasama yung exponent. So magiging p of x and p of y yung given ang value natin ng g. So homomorphism siya or mapping siya sa value ng p natin, yung x squared. So, next example is example number 5. Yung p of x. So, dito naman sa number 5 is mag-under tayo sa addition. So, p of x equals x squared under addition. So, diba kanina sa example number 4 is naging homomorphism siya, which is under naman siya sa multiplication. Kasi nga, x squared times y squared is magiging p of x times p of y, which is mapping siya sa p of x squared natin. So, dito naman sa number 5, sim siya sa number 4. P of x equals x squared, pero under addition yung gagawin natin. Dito sa number 5, binago lang naman na ang operation na gagamitin natin, binago sa addition. From multiplication to addition. So, gagamitin natin ngayon yung e plus b. So, dito naman, is-substitute natin yung value ng g natin sa e plus b x squared para mag-map siya sa x squared. So, e plus b x squared equals e x squared plus magiging 2eb siya kasi nga under addition plus b2. So, yung magagawa natin magiging a x squared plus 2eb plus b2. Magiging ganito siya kasi nga under tayo ng addition. And now, para mas maunawaan nyo about homomorphism, let's proceed to the example of homomorphism. So, assuming that our value of e is 2, 3, 1, and 4, and our value of b is 5, 1, 2, 1. So, dito, yung first step na gagawin natin is multiply the matrices. Yung from e times b. Yung gagawin natin dito on how to multiply is row by column. So, first, on how to multiply is first column, first row. So, 2 times 5 plus 3 times 2. Kasi nga, yung first column natin, yung 2, yung first row naman natin, yung 5. So, 2 times 5 and 3 times 2. Kasi nga, first column, first row. Yung the next one na gagawin naman natin, and the next one is first row, first column. So, 2 times 1 and 3 times 1. Ganun din yung gagawin natin sa baba. First row, first column. So, dito naman, since nasa baba na yung row natin, second row, first column. So, 1 times 5, 4 times 2. And 1 times 1, 4 times 1. And the second step is ika-calculate na natin yung nakuha nating mga matrices ng E and B. So, 2 times 5, 10. 3 times 2, 6. 2 times 1, 2. 3 times 1, 3. 1 times 5, 5. 4 times 2, 8. 1 times 1, 1. 4 times 1, 1. And the next step is i-add lang natin. 10 plus 6, 16. 2 plus 3, 5. 5 plus 8, 6. 5 plus 8 is 13. 1 plus 4 is 5. So, nakuha na natin yung matrices ng E and B. Yung result is 16, 5, 13, and 5. So, now let's proceed to step 3. Calculate individual determinant. So, ngayon, ika-calculate naman natin yung individual determinant by each element. So, first is, i-cross multiply muna natin yung value ng E and B. 16 times 5, 13 times 15. 16 times 5, 80. Then, 13 times 5, 65. I-subtract lang natin. 80 minus 65, 15. So, yung determinant ng E and B natin is 15. Ngayon naman, kukunin natin ang individual determinant by each element. Una, yung elements ng A. 2, 3, 1, and 4. So, katulad din yung ginawa natin kanina ng pagkuha ng determinant ng A and B, cross multiplication. 2 times 4, 1 times 3. 2 times 4, 8. 3 times 1, 3. I-subtract lang natin. 8 minus 3, 5. Ang sunod naman is yung value ng yung determinant ng B. Ganon din yung gagawin natin. Cross multiply. 5 times 1, 2 times 1. So, 5 times 1, 5. 1 times 2, 2. Then, i-subtract lang natin. 5 minus 2, 3. And, multiply na natin yung determinant, yung value ng, so, nakuha na natin yung value ng A and B. Yung value ng A natin is 5. Yung value ng B natin is 3. I-multiply lang natin. 5 times 3, 15. Diba kanina nung kunin natin yung determinant ng A and B is 15. Then, nung kinuha naman natin yung individual determinant by each element, then subtract natin yung kanilang mga value is 15. Dito, magiging homomorphism siya. Like, diba, yung individual determinant na nakuha natin is 15. Then, yung value ng E, yung value ng E and B natin, yung determinant nila is 15. So, equal. Equal sila, yung individual determinant and group, yung determinant ng E and B. Kaya, naging homomorphism. So, it is true na yung value ng A natin is nagmamap siya sa value ng B. And that's all for my report. I hope naintindihan nyo.
So good morning everyone. So we are done now with the definitions about the homomorphism. So let's come now to the next topic, which is the type of homomorphism. Let's discuss first the type of homomorphism, then after that we will discuss the properties of homomorphism. So there are 5 types of homomorphism, and those are monomorphism, epimorphism, isomorphism, endomorphism, and the last one is the automorphism. So let's discuss first the monomorphism. Monomorphism. A monomorphism is an injective or one-to-one homomorphism. Monomorphism is also called as monic morphism or a mono. Mono means one. Why is it one-to-one? Because it means that no two different elements from the first group map to the same element in the second group. Think of it like a function where every output has only one input. Then if you know the output, you know exactly where input it came from. So in the other words, if of A is equals to f of B, then it must be true that A is equals to B. So, ang meaning ng monomorphism is, pag ang isang output ay may sarili ding input or one input is implies to one output. That what is called monomorphism. So for example, if the mapping F quantity R with addition implies that quantity R negative 0 with an multiplication such that f of x is equals to 2x 2 raised to x rather, then F is monomorphism. So why is it monomorphism? Because the first group is all real numbers and we use the addition to combine them. For the second group, all real numbers except 0 and we use multiplication to combine them. To check if it is a homomorphism rather, we need to make sure combining first in mapping is the same as mapping first, then combining. Next is the epimorphism. Epimorphism is a group of homomorphism that is surjective or onto, reaches every point in the codomain. It means that every element in the second group is used or nothing is left out. It does not matter if multiple inputs map to the same output as long as all outputs are covered. For example, consider the mapping of the function f of g with a multiplication implies that each with a binary operation where g is equals to a, b, c, and d and h is equals to 1, 2, and 3. Makikita naman natin na yung b and c ay yung magkapara sila ng output na number 2 which is in the function of h with a multiplication. So, it does not matter if the two elements have the same output as long as there's no elements that are left out in the function. As long as all of the elements are covered, then it is a onto or surjective, which means it is an epimorphism. Next is the isomorphism. It is a group homomorphism that is bijective, for example, is injective and surjective. What does it mean? It means that this is the perfect kind of homomorphism. Why is it perfect? Because the two groups are not just related, they have the exact same structure. Even if their elements look different or have different names, they work exactly the same way. You can think of them as being identical. It's just they are written differently. So if the two groups have an isomorphism between them, then we say that they are isomorphic. Then let's come now to the example. So for example, let a function of f with all the real numbers using addition implies that all positive real numbers using multiplication such that f of x is equals to e raised to x for all x is an element of the R, then if is an isomorphism. It means for isomorphism, perfect match, same structure, but different looks. The groups are essentially the same structure, only their names or how they are written are different. Let's come now to the endomorphism. So endomorphism is a homomorphism. Each G implies G having the same domain and codomain is known as endomorphism of G. An endomorphism is a homomorphism of a group to itself. It means that an endomorphism is a homomorphism where the input group and the output group are the same. In other words, it is a function that maps a group to itself. The prefix endo means inside, so that it means that the function stays within the same group. So let's consider the example. Consider the mapping of f of g with the multiplication to g with the binary operation such that makikita naman natin dito sa na yung structure na is nasa loob lang ng kanyang grupo. It does nothing have to do with the other or the outside group. It stays within the same group, no going outside. Because an endomorphism
the domain and codomain are the same group. It stays inside the original group. You never get elements outside of it. Every group has at least one endomorphism, then the function that maps every element to itself. That's what it's called endomorphism. Basta tandaan lang natin na pag endomorphism, it is a homomorphism that maps a group to itself. Sa sarili din niyang grupo, hindi sa iba. That is an endomorphism. The last type of homomorphism, which is the automorphism. Automorphism is a special kind of endomorphism because it is a homomorphism that maps a group to itself and it is both one-to-one and onto. For this, let f g with a multiplication to g with a binary operation such that f of a times b is equals to f of a binary operation of f of b. If f is one-to-one mapping, then it is called as automorphism. Let's think of it as a way to rearrange the elements of a group, but in such a way that all the rules and structures of the group stay exactly the same. Let's take this an example. An automorphism group of all integers using addition contains only two elements, the identity transformation and multiplication with -1. Since it maps the group to itself and it's put one-to-one and onto, it is an automorphism.
Since we're done with the types of homomorphism, let's come now to the properties of homomorphism. So now, since we're done with the types of homomorphism, let's proceed now to the properties of homomorphism. So, let's recall first. A function p, g maps to g prime is a homomorphism if p of a multiplied to b is equals to p of a binary operation of p of b for all ab is an element of G. Let P be a homomorphism from a group G to a group G prime and G be an element of G. Then, the first property is P carries the identity element of G to the identity element of G prime, or tinatawag na identity-preserving property, where it maps the identity element to the identity element. The second property is P of G raised to n is equal to P of G raised to n for all integers n, or the power rule, where it preserves powers and inverses, or negative power. The third one is if the order of G is finite, then the order of P of G divides the order of G. That is called the order preserving or divisibility of order, where the order of the result divides the original order. Then the fourth one is the kernel of P is a subgroup of G, or tinatawag na kernel is a subgroup property. The kernel is a subgroup. Then the last property, or the fifth one, is the P inverse of G prime is the set of all x in G such that P of x equals G prime, and this is equal to G times the kernel of P, or it is called a coset or pre-image property, where the pre-image is a coset of the kernel. So to better understand each property, let's prove one by one. For the first property, where P maps the identity element of G to the identity element of G prime, it means that every group has an identity element. So if A is the identity of G and E prime is the identity of G prime, this property says that P of A is equals to E prime. Then, let's prove it. This is the proven explanation. Since we have A is equals to E times E, which means that, let's start with the identity of G. Since we know that E is the identity element of G, then E is equals to E times E, which combining itself with the identity still gives the identity. Since P is a homomorphism, we can split the operation. So P of E is equals to P of A times E is equals to P of A times P of A. Now, since we know that the identity element of G prime is E prime, So we have the P of A is equals to P of A times E prime. Let's just change to E prime, the P of A. So we now have the P of A times P of A is equals to P of A times E prime. So by the left cancellation law in G prime, we can add, or we can multiply the inverses of the P of A so that we can cancel both sides. So we now have a P of A is equals to E prime. So it proved the property number 1. That's all for the property number 1. We get an answer of P of A is equals to E prime. For a little reminder of homomorphism, is that homomorphism never change the identity element because they always send the identity of the first group to the identity of the second group. That's what it means for the first property. So now let's proceed to the property number 2, where P of G raised to n is equals to P of G raised to n for all integers. So it means that when you take an element of G and raise it to an integer power n, or how many times the G with itself, then applying P to that result is the same as raising P of G to the same power in the second group. This work for all the integers, kung kahit ano pa, kahit positive, negative, or even 0. So let's prove the property number 2. If n is greater than 0, then P of G raised to n is equals to P of G raised to n, as P is homomorphism. So, by the definition, G raised to n is equals to G times G times G n times. Using the homomorphism property repeatedly, we get P of G raised to n is equals to P of G times G times G times G times G. The n is on how many times you multiply the G. So we have the P of G is equals to P of G raised to n if n is greater than 0. So next, if we have n is less than 0, then n is equals to negative m for some m with the element of integers m is greater than 0. So we have P of G raised to n and P of G raised to negative m. First, let's rewrite using the m. Since we want to find P of G raised to n, since n is equals to negative m, substitute that in the operation. So we have P of G raised to n is equals to P of G raised to m. So yun na nga, diba? This just changes how I write the exponent, nothing else changes. Walang masyadong nang bago, yung exponent lang yung naiba. Understand what a negative exponent means. Since in a group, raising something to negative m means taking the inverse of the positive power, so G raised to negative m is equals to G raised to m, or the inverse of G raised to m. This means that do the G raised to m, then take its inverse. So we have the P of G, or P of the inverse of G raised to m. Then the homomorphism turn inverses into inverses. For the rule for homomorphism, if you take the inverse of an element first, then apply the function, it is the same as applying the function first, then taking the inverse. So we have the P of G raised to m quantity, then the inverse, is equals to P of G raised to m, then quantity, and then the inverse. Walang pinagkaiba kung ano yung unahin mo. Kung unahin mo muna yung pagkuha ng inverse of an element, then apply the function, it is the same as applying the function first, then taking the inverse. Since we know for the positive exponent naman, since m is positive kasi nga m is greater than 0, we already proved that P of G raised to m is equals to P of G raised to m. Then substitute this, the P of G raised to m, to the inverse, then P of G raised to m, or the inverse of P of G raised to m. Then combine the exponent and inverses. In groups, taking the inverse of something raised to m is the same as raising it to negative m. So, yun nga, paulit-ulit na lang. P of G raised to M, then the inverse, then P of G raised to M, then the inverse. Then, now, go back to N, where N is equals to negative M. Remember that we started with N is equals to negative M. Just replace the negative M with N. So we have the P of G raised to N, then the inverse. So putting it all together, we end up with the P of G raised to N is equals to P of G raised to N. So yun na nga, we have the P of G raised to N is equals to P of G raised to N. Even when N is negative, the M and the negative 1 work together to become negative M, which is exactly the N we started with. Nagsimula tayo sa N kasi nga it is less than 0. So that's why it becomes negative M. Since M is greater than 0, it is a positive. Papalitan lang natin yung M to N where it gets started. So, if N is greater than R, if N is less than 0, then we can prove it if N is equals to negative M. For some M is an element of G where M is greater than 0. So, we will get, or we can prove that P of G raised to N is equals to P of G raised to N. We also prove the property number 2. Next is, if N is equals to 0, then P of X raised to 0 is equals to P of A is times A prime. Because if we raise, by the definition, if we raise the G raised to 0 is equals to the A, which is the identity of G. So using the property 1, we get P of G raised to 0 is equals to P of A is equals to E prime, where it equals to P of G raised to 0 since any element to the power 0 is the identity. So hence we get the P of G raised to N is equals to P of G raised to N for all N and Z. Sa homomorphism, it respect powers of elements. Kasi kung alin man yung unahin mo, if you repeat the elements first or apply the function first, you get the same result in the second group. At alin man doon yung unahin mo, yung result is same pa din sa second group. Yun yung property number 2.
Now let's prove the property number 3. Let G is an element of G and the order of G is equals to N maps to G raised to N is equals to E, which is the identity of G. And property number 1, since P is a homomorphism, then we get the applying P both sides, so we get P of G raised to N is equals to P of A. Then from the property number 2, which is the preserves power, where P of G raised to N is equals to P of G raised to N, we get the P of G raised to N is equals to P G raised to N, which is parang binaligtad lang. Then from the property number 1, the P of A is equals to A prime, which is the identity of G prime. Because using the identity P of A, let's just change it to the identity property of G prime, which is the A prime. So thus we get P of G raised to N is equals to E prime. Hence the order of P of G divides the order of G. Because the order P of G is the smallest positive integer key such that P of G raised to key is equals to E prime. Since N is one such number, key must divide the N. Because the image of an element can have a larger order than the element itself, because its order is always a factor of the original element's order. Because in basic result in the group theory, if an element raised to N gives the identity, its order divides N. The property number 4. The kernel of B is a subgroup of G. So ano nga ba ang kernel? The kernel of B, written as ker P, or the kernel P, is the set of all elements in G that map to the identity element of G prime, which is kernel P is equals to X element of G, P of X equals to E prime. So now, let's prove the property number 4. The kernel of a homomorphism P of G maps to G prime is a subgroup of G. Proof: let kernel P is equals to X is an element of G, P of X is equal to E prime. So to prove a subset is a subgroup, we use the one-step subgroup test. So next, clearly we have A is an element of kernel P as P of A is equals to E prime. Because from the property number 1, P of A is equals to E, so the identity E is an element of kernel P, thus kernel is not empty. Therefore, kernel P is not equal to P, which is kernel P is not empty. Second, let's prove that it is closure under X times Y raised to 1. So let X and Y is an element of kernel P be arbitrary. So P of X is equals to P of Y is equals to E prime. Because by the definition, this means that P of X is equal to E prime and P of Y is equals to E prime. Now, we have P of X and Y inverse equals to P of X times P of Y inverse is equals to P of X times P of Y quantity, the inverse, or the inverse of P of Y. Because nga diba, using the homomorphism property, yung let's apply the P homomorphism, which it separates the operation, then the property number 2, which is the preserve powers or inverses, then we get the E prime times E prime inverse is equals to E prime. Because the inverse of the identity is itself, so E prime times E prime is equals to E prime. Therefore, we get X and Y inverse as an element of kernel P. Using the by one-step subgroup test, it means that since the kernel is not empty or non-empty, it satisfies the subgroup test. It is a subgroup of G. Our kernel P is a subgroup of G. So for the property number 5, first we prove that the preimage of G prime under P is a subset of the Lefkosit GK, which is equal to G times the kernel of P. Yung preimage is, it means that the set of all elements in the original group that map to G prime when you apply the P, where the inverse of P of G prime is called the preimage of an element G prime. Then the G key naman is the Lefkosit. G is an element from the original group, then key is a subgroup. A coset G key is the set of all elements you get by multiplying G by every element in key, as well as the G times kernel P. This explicitly states that key is the kernel of P, where the kernel of a homomorphism is a special subgroup containing all elements from the original group that map to the identity element of the target group. So, let be an element in the preimage of G prime. It means that we are starting by picking an arbitrary element X that is part of the set preimage of G prime. Then our goal is to show that this X must also be an G key. If we can show that any X in preimage of G prime also in G key, then we've proven that the preimage of G prime is a subset of G key. Malinaw naman, diba? Na kung yung preimage of G prime ay matatagpuan din sa G key, then the preimage of G prime is a subset of G key. That's why X is an element of P inverse G prime, or the preimage of G prime. Then P of X equals to G prime. It means that this follows directly from the definition of X is an element of G prime. If X is in the preimage of G prime, it means that when you apply the homomorphism P to X, you get the G prime. That's why it is P of X equals G prime equals P of G. Therefore, the identity element E prime equals P of G inverse times P of X, which equals P of G inverse times X. Since we knew that f of x is equals to G prime, we want to manipulate this to get the identity element, which is the E prime. If we multiply G prime by its inverse, G prime, we get E prime. So, E prime is equals to inverse of G prime times G prime. So the proofs assume that P of G is equals to G prime. This means that the inverse of G prime is equals to the inverse of P of G. So from the property of homomorphism that maps the inverse of an element to the inverse of its image, where the inverse of P of G is equals to P of inverse of G. Then also from the property of homomorphism where it preserves the group operation. So by putting it together, we starts with E prime. We want to show that E prime from f of x is equals to, not f of x, I mean P of x is equals to G prime. So if P of G is equals to G prime, then E prime is equals to P of G inverse times P of X. Pwede din siya magkabaliktad. It depends on the process. Then using the properties, the inverse of P of G times P of X is equals to P, the inverse of G times P of X is equals to P, the inverse of G times X. Thus, we've shown that the P of G inverse times X is equals to E prime. Therefore, the G inverse X is an element in G key or the kernel. Since from the previous steps that were P of G inverse X is equals to E prime, by the definition of the kernel, any element that maps to the identity E under P must belong to key. So the G inverse key is in key. Or, yung inverse ng G in key ay nasa loob pa din ng kernel. It belongs to the kernel. Thus, the preimage of G prime under P is a subset of the left coset G key or kernel. Since we knew that the G prime X is an element of key, to isolate the X, we can multiply both sides by G on the left. G times G inverse X is an element of G key. Since quantity G inverse X is equals to G inverse times X is equals to AX, E times X equals to X. This means that X is also an element of G key. Then since we started by taking an arbitrary X of an element of preimage of G prime, we should ensure that it must also be in the kernel. We have successfully proven that the preimage of the G prime is a subset of the kernel or G key. We now prove that the kernel is a subset of the preimage of G prime. Or we now prove that the left coset is a subset of the preimage of G prime. So now for the next part, let's prove naman if the preimage of G prime is a subset of G key or is a subset of the left coset. Parang yung reverse inclusion of the left coset, the subset of preimage of G prime. Yung kabaliktaran naman niya, let's prove it. So for the second proven, we are trying to prove that the preimage of G prime is equals to the left coset. So let X is the element of the kernel of G or G key, then X is equals to G key for some key is an element of key. So now we have the P of X is equals to P of G in key. The definition, the P of key is equals to E prime. So, apply lang natin yung P to X to both sides. Then, for the properties of the homomorphism which it preserve the operation, let's distribute the or apply the P. Then, let's do the homomorphism property of operation, which it equals to P of G times P of K. Since di ba kanina by the definition daw, P of K is equals to E prime. So, papalitan lang natin yung P of K kaya naging E prime. So, P of G times E prime na siya. Then, sunod is the P of G is equals to G prime. Then, sunod is P of G is equals to G prime. Naging G prime na siya kasi nga the identity element of E prime is, the identity element of G prime is E prime. Because multiplying by the identity does nothing, so this simplifies to P of G. Since we already know that P of G is equals to G prime, so we get the P of G is equals to G prime. Thus, the X is an element of the pre-image of G prime, so that the kernel of the left coset is a subset of the pre-image of G prime. Since we get the pre-image of GK is equals to G prime. Not G prime, the kernel, the left coset. So we have now proven the property number 5. For the conclusion of the property number 5, we should each set is a subset of the other. So they are exactly the same set. The pre-image of the G prime is equals to the left coset of the kernel. And the left coset of the kernel is equal to the pre-image of the G prime. And now it's the end of our discussion. Thank you.